Very recently, Cooper Flagg announced that he will be reclassifying up from the 2025 recruiting class to the 2024 recruiting class, making him eligible for the 2025 NBA draft. I said it in an earlier video about Flagg, but the moment Victor Wembanyama was drafted into the NBA, Cooper Flagg became the best prospect in the world regardless of class, in my opinion. He's a big, versatile wing forward with insane upside on both ends of the floor. If you watched him play, you know how special he has a chance to be. But what I want to talk about in this video is just how unprecedented what he has a chance to do is. But quickly before we go any further, if you're new and like basketball, I would really appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and hit notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the two best ways that can help me out in the YouTube algorithm and help me reach my goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. Anyways, let's talk about Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is a 6'8", 195-pound forward with a wingspan that's probably flirting with 7 feet tall, though there really isn't any official listings out there. He has a feel for the game and competitive wiring that just can't be taught, and it makes him stand out amongst his peers. He's a really good athlete. I wouldn't say he's a freak athlete in terms of explosiveness. It's not like he's a Ben Simmons or LeBron or Blake Griffin type of athlete at the forward position, but he's a very good one. He's a good vertical athlete. He moves well laterally. In fact, I would say he has great lateral movement skills on top of pretty good speed for his frame. And he's one of the better defensive prospects we have seen in recent memory. He's incredible off the ball in defense, which is rare for someone that young. He's an incredible shot blocker. He has versatility that could lead to him potentially guarding multiple positions and play multiple defensive coverages. And he has potential to be absurdly productive in terms of blocks and steals. If you look at his numbers on defense in high school and during EYBL events, they make you wonder if it's a typo or a mistake. But when you watch him play and realize those numbers are legit, it really backs up everything you see in him defensively. And he's a rare case where the numbers do reflect fully just how special of a defender he is. And that alone would make him an elite prospect. But then you add the offense, and it truly makes him one of the best high school prospects in recent memory. He's a good playmaker and has made encouraging strides in that area. He's a growing shooter. I would say he's already a solid one, but he can get even better. He's also made strides in that area. He has a good handle, especially for his frame. He can attack the basket. Again, really good athlete. He's far from perfect as an offensive player. I wouldn't say that he's flawless. He could get better as a shooter. He could improve some of his decision making. But those are things that all young players who have the basketball in their hands a lot have to deal with. And what I'm encouraged by is that he can be a super effective player while also being a guy that doesn't have the basketball in his hands all the time. Someone that can play off the ball, but also has absurd on-ball potential. He's super young. He's made so many strides as an offensive player over the year, and I think that what he needs to work on can be fixed pretty easily simply by getting more experience. I do believe that he has the potential to be one of the most complete offensive prospects in recent memory. It's no guarantee that he does become that, but all the signs are there right now. Cooper Flagg reclassifying up is a big deal for a few reasons. First, that means he'll be entering the NBA a year earlier than expected. He was projected to enter the NBA in 2026. Now he will very likely enter the NBA in 2025. Second, he now projects to be the clear-cut early favorite for the best player in his class, which wouldn't have been the case had he stayed in the 2025 recruiting class. I think as of right now, he would have been the best player in the 2025 recruiting class, and I think there's definitely a real possibility he would have been the top pick in 2026, but it wouldn't have been as clear-cut as it has a chance to be now that he's reclassified up. And he isn't as much of a favorite for the top player in his class had he stayed in the 2025 recruiting class. He would have been in the same class as Cameron Boozer, the son of former NBA All-Star power forward Carlos Boozer, which makes me feel old. Boozer is a crazy prospect in his own right that has no business being as physically gifted and skilled as he is at just 16 years old. Honestly, reminds me a lot of Paolo Banchero when you compare those two at the same age. And you guys know how high I am on Paolo, and I had a monster grade on Paolo as a prospect when he was drafted. Also, there's a real chance that 2026 top recruit AJ Debonsta reclassifies up to 2025. And he's an absolutely absurd prospect that's ahead of a lot of really good NBA players that were really good prospects when they were his age in terms of skill, physical tools, and development. I do think that Cooper Flagg is better than those two right now, but those two are really close to Flagg in terms of level of prospect at this stage, in my opinion. And I do see a world where either one of those guys would have overtaken Flagg had Flagg stayed in that 2025 recruiting class, and assuming again Debonsta reclassifies up to 2025. But as of right now, Flagg reclassified to 2024. To me, he's the clear-cut best player in that recruiting class and has a chance to be the number one overall pick and should be the early favorite barring something crazy happening. Now that Cooper Flagg is in the 2024 recruiting class and likely will be in that 2025 NBA draft, regardless of what happens, it would shock me if he isn't in that draft class. If he continues to develop the way he has, he will very, very likely be the number one pick in 2025. Now, I'm not saying that 2025 is going to be a bad draft. It's way too early to predict anything like that. I remember people viewed 2016 as a weaker draft class. That draft class produced 3 All-Stars, 2 of which have made All-NBA teams in the top 3. Another All-Star in the late first round, and an All-NBA guy that's probably the best player in that class in the late first round as well. So you can never make any guesses about that. 2013 was viewed as weak as well, and that draft class produced one of the best players in NBA history. And I do like some of the guys that project to be in the 2025 NBA draft. Dylan Harper is a really crafty combo guard that has real upside as a scorer, as a bigger guard, and also somebody that has some passing chops as well. And he was probably the best recruit in that class until Flagg reclassified up. Trey Johnson is a really fun scoring guard that's really smooth and crafty. And Floyd Budunga, who just committed to Kansas as of me recording this video, is a really fun athletic big that has a lot of upside. But Flagg is just ahead of those guys at this stage of development, in my opinion, and very clearly. In fact, I would go as far to say he would be the number one player had he been eligible for the 2024 NBA draft. I think he's that good. And barring some crazy outlier development from another prospect, which isn't out of the cards, but it's far from a guarantee, it would shock me if Flagg isn't the top guy come graduation and going into his pre-draft year. What Flagg has a chance to do in the future is truly unprecedented. If he remains the top recruit and is the number 1 pick in 2025, he will be the youngest first overall pick of the post-prep to pro era. He will also very likely be the youngest player in the NBA when he gets drafted. He won't turn 19 until 4 days before Christmas. Now, we see a lot of people with birthdays from June to December start school a year later than others born in the same year. It's not a big deal. It's not something like to harp on a lot. It's very common in general. It's not just a sports thing to see that happen. But we do get some cases of people starting school that are born in the summer, fall, and late winter that are the same year as the rest of the class, and they're just super young for that class, and they're among the youngest people in their graduating class. In fact, I'm an example of it. I have a late August birthday and was one of the youngest in my high school graduating class of 2019. Now, we have seen young players enter the NBA before that are in similar circumstances to what I just explained. Guys who have been picked high that also have been the youngest player in the NBA. Kevin Durant was the youngest player in the NBA and was a full year younger than most of his one-and-done draft mates in 2007. LeBron James was also the youngest player in the NBA. In fact, assuming Flagg is drafted in 2025, he will be only 9 days older than LeBron was when he was drafted in the NBA. Now, the big difference is LeBron went to the NBA straight out of high school and Flagg is going to college. But the point is that Flagg will be outlier young for an NBA player. It's not like he will be the first player to be super young entering the NBA that I had a absurdly high draft grade on. Jalen Duren was the youngest player in the NBA, and he's the most recent example of what Cooper Flagg just did, being absurdly young for the draft class if they reclass up, but reclassifying up because they're ready. They don't need the extra year of high school. And I had a top 5 prospect grade on Duren in that class, and I still can't believe he fell to the 13th pick. Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball were absurdly young when they were drafted in 2020. In fact, both of them are younger than 3 of the top 5 picks from that 2021 draft. LaMelo was my number 1 player in that class. Ant was my number 2 player in that class. Josh Giddey was super young entering the NBA. He was a year or more younger than 9 lottery picks from his draft class. Giddey was my number 5 ranked prospect in that class. Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett were very young for their draft class in 2019. Zion was my number 1 prospect in that class and the 3rd highest prospect grade I have ever given out. That could change, but we'll see. And RJ was my number 3 prospect in that class. Jaren Jackson Jr. was the youngest player in the NBA when he was a rookie. So it's not like Flagg will be the first ever high-level prospect to be super young. But the thing is, he's going to be even younger than those guys who are entering the NBA. And there's a chance that he's a better prospect than everyone I just named. And that includes Zion Williamson. I'm that high on the potential of Cooper Flagg. It's no guarantee that he overtakes Zion as my number 3 prospect I've ever evaluated. But the way that Flagg is developing and where he is now, I think there's a real chance that happens. Flagg has a chance to be the first ever consensus top prospect that is this young in the one-and-done era. Flagg has a chance to be the first top overall pick in the post-prep to pro era that will be the youngest player in the NBA. And he will be the 2nd youngest first overall pick we have ever seen, behind only LeBron James. That's what Cooper Flagg has a chance to do. He has a chance to do something that many thought one and done rules would prevent from ever happening again in terms of a top prospect and how old they would be entering the NBA. Now, it's no guarantee that Flagg will be the first overall pick in 2025. That draft is still 2 years away, and a lot could happen in 2 years. Cade Cunningham wasn't even a consensus top 5 recruit 2 years before he was drafted. His stock rose after an incredible EYBL run prior to his senior year. Markelle Fultz wasn't even a top 5 recruit consensusly during his high school days, and he wasn't viewed as the future number 1 pick until his FIBA performance prior to his freshman season in college. So a lot can happen. But I will say this, if Cooper Flagg continues to develop the way he has over the years, if what he's shown us so far is just scratching the surface of his potential, if he keeps getting better, which he's given us no reason not to believe otherwise, it's hard for me to believe anyone would have thrown him as a top prospect in that class. Because if Cooper Flagg progresses and develops the way I believe he can, the way we have seen so many great players in the past, he won't be just the best prospect in this class. He's going to be one of the best prospects we have ever seen. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, notified whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the 2 best ways that can help me out in the YouTube algorithm and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. And let me know what you think about Cooper Flagg. Where do you think he's going to go to school? How good do you think he's going to be? Do you think that he could be one of the better prospects we've seen? Do you think he could be the number 1 pick in 2025? It's very early and a lot can change. I don't think we'll have answers for a lot of these questions until they actually happen. But I would love to hear all of that in the comment section below. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.